like to get into it, and I have an important question for you as the former Secretary of Defense. We here at the Goat Rodeo have been working really hard to get a sponsorship from a company known as Rip It. Do you know people at the Rip It Corporation that could help us?
I was just talking to a guy out there who goes, he showed up in Afghanistan. It was Gorilla, right? They were doing some thing at Gorilla. Gorilla's like, hey, if this code isn't fixed by tomorrow morning, you're on the next flight out. And he took him seriously, and I automatically said, oh yeah, just go slam some Rip-Its, right?
Yes.
Isn't that what we did?
That's what you, like, what solution ever problem?
What happened to our wars? Like, our wars, like, you read the Vietnam dudes, they were smoking dope.
Yeah,
they were
LSD.
doing, like, LSD. And
I mean, even in Forrest Gump, Lieutenant Dan's like, drinking beers and doing a cookout. He comes the country to a cookout.
What do we get? Rip-Its.
Rip it. Let's not knock it. I don't like the derogatory tone you're taking here,
What's
sir.
the creatine? Like, yeah, we were taking creatine.
And we had Otis Spunkemeyer muffins. Which of Otis Spunkemeyer?
Can you eat those anymore?
I actually did eat one the other day because I found a gas station. I found a gas station that had Rip-Its, and I was like, well, it's got to have. And it did. It had Otis Spunkemeyer muffins.
Who made Rip-It?
Rip-It, I don't even know. I don't remember the name of the corporation, but I do know that Rip-It, the company that owns them, also makes LaCroix.
LaCroix. Yeah, it's the same company.
It's the same company.
Yeah.
So I was blown away. Very high class and very like
very the other. Can you imagine? Hey, the guys out in the field, men and women, getting a little antsy. We're not going to feed them the wake-up pills because we'll end up getting sued for like human performance enhancement someday. God forbid. So, hey, find us an energy drink, but we don't want to pay Red Bull.
Yeah, we're not paying Red Bull.
So, can you imagine, like, it's like an 03 captain. Oh, what? Probably Natick.
And he turns to his left and says to the E6 or the E7, what do we do?
Someone somewhere saw it, though, and goes, this is a bit steep. Do you have half cans?
Half cans.
I've never seen one in person, but I'd love it if you could make it smaller. The enlisted, you don't want to give them too much.
Did you ever have a kid who would drink, like, 10 of those things before going out and drunk?
Yes, the supply kid.
Yes.
Because he would get them first. He would drink all of them. And you'd be like, what's this weird?
We would also take away all magazines full of ammunition that the kid was carrying. Because he was like,
well, no, because because they fit perfectly in his ammo.
That's true. Yes.
So you're like, hey, man, no ammo. You're going to run the Rip-Its for us.
more Rip-Its.
Yeah, the other pouch that worked really well was the grenade pouch, which seemed to be like miraculously designed for skull cans or Rip-Its. Like,
that's true.
I mean,
Garrett, I don't think you ever dip skull.
I don't dip. No tobacco. I smoke a cigar every so often. Rip it. I'm down.
It's just Coke heavy and Rip It in my household. That's pretty much.
It's so White Monster. It's so funny. Like, Rip It. I've always wondered about that. That's like a story of our kind of war.
As always, Rip It if you're watching. Chris Miller now also wondering, how do we get in touch?
How do we do this?
If we could get someone from Rip It to actually come on and tell the story of how Rip It got into the GWAT, I would love to tell.
That's an amazing story.
But the thing is, like, the Otis Spunkemeyer muffins, I can't eat those anymore.
I definitely ate too many.
No.
Yeah, but the Rip It,
Can't eat Girl Scout cookies either.
Do you remember in MREs they had that one item that was just the muffin top?
Yeah. Do you remember that?
no.
And so that was definitely like a G1.
That muffin top?
That was G1.
The pound cake was also basically that. It was just like a muffin top of a cake.
That's right.
Garrett, I heard your brother outranked you when you joined the Marine Corps.
That is absolutely true. So my younger brother enlisted a year.
Younger?
Yeah.
He's a giant of a human. That's probably tough.
Well, when you reach adulthood, younger people can still be bigger than old.
But he's unusually big. I met your other brother who's about your size.
True.
He's not as athletic, but he's about your size. And then Nate's just like a tree trunk.
Mike, you have your virtues. Mike, you've got your virtues. You're not athletic.
Mike's my favorite because he has the nerdy comics that I like.
Nate is a beast. Nate is a reconnaissance marine by background, and he's a savage. He went on to play hockey at Columbia University as a Travis Manion fellow, and
That's awesome.
He was the enforcer.
he's a beast.
He said, I really like to know how to play hockey, but I would just have to protect her.
But I was moving fast and colliding with other men.
I've seen the videos, and he cannot skate.
Yeah.
But he can kill people on the ice.
Big Happy Gilmore energy.
It was that.
That was that. It's off with his
that exact.
ice.
That was that exactly.
Yeah.
All right. We are on a roll. I'm going to welcome everybody to the Goat Rodeo Podcast. We are here in Montana. Don't worry, Ian will take care of this in post. He'll bleep that out appropriately. But we're in Montana. We have the great privilege of being joined by former Acting Secretary of Defense Chris Miller during the first Trump administration. He has many, many virtues, not least of which is coming from the Army Special Operations or Special Forces community.
You guys are literally scraping the bottom of the barrel right now that you have to come to an old has-been like me.
We looked at the list of former secretaries of defense. I tried.
Try to get Mattis. Mattis was like, he was charging $50K.
He's charging a lot of money?
Yeah. Esper.
He's not an idiot.
Esper's like $100K. You're like, hey, call Miller. He'll probably do it for free. And I am such a moron, actually, because I so believe in what you guys are doing, like trying to transform our defense industry.
Yeah.
And, so I'm a sucker.
Well, you're right. So your contract writer did say that we need to serve you Cabernet Sauvignon. It's a 23. I don't know if you're...
And price was right. So I got... Hey, I'm cheap.
A glass of wine cheap. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Well, thanks, man. I know it's you've got lots of options. Ian, our brilliant media guru, is rolling his eyes right now. How did I ever end up in the Goat Rodeo?
Yes.
His family's like, literally, what happened to you? We thought you were going to be a sound engineer, and now you're being a sound engineer for the Goat Rodeo.
Right. It's 9 p.m. on some random evening in the middle of the week. Sorry.
Yeah. What? It's October 7th, the 2-year anniversary.
Oh, wow. That's true. You're right. That's where we intended to start. It is the 2-year anniversary, tragically, of an Iranian-supported Hamas incursion into Israel, which resulted in now 2 years of devastating war and conflict in that region. Actually, let's use that as the entry point.
You've been to Gaza since they certified?
I didn't go into Gaza. Last January, February, I did a visit to Israel, and I was down to the south in the Negev, and we installed a bunch of technology with an IDF special operations unit, and we were 2-3 kilometers.
Could you see into the?
We could see into the strip. I was 2-3 kilometers away east of the Gaza perimeter, and at that time, this is a year and a half ago, I suppose. It wasn't quite as bombed out and devastated as it is now. It's tragic what's happening there, but at the same time, Israel is surrounded on all sides by enemies. They're an ally of the United States. It's a really confusing conflict, honestly.
So let me ask you this.
You must have dealt with that in your time in the chair, and you've got to have opinions now, right?
Man, you can get canceled by saying the wrong thing. You absolutely can. Really dangerous. I should just take the whole comment back, but I just wanted to recognize.
You can recognize it. But that's fine, too. Sure.
You guys already tested. I have no go there. I have a question.
Simon also has opinions here, which is totally.
I'm really bad at holding on to them. Surrounded on all sides by enemies. Do we think that any of the countries surround Israel anymore could actually hang?
Hang? You mean like go toe to toe with Israel?
I mean, we watched them curb stomp.
Not with the United States back.
Actually, take U.S. out of the equation at the moment and take out the idea of all of them ganging up. One on one. Could any of them? And I have a very strong opinion about. My answer is no. There's not one single military left around them that has the professional military class that Israel has to compete in a conflict.
So can we talk about it just the way you did as military professionals that served and have fought in some really shitty wars?
Let's do that.
Let's do that and not talk about the politics.
That's the only thing.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like
the thing that I'm interested in most, in particularly after watching how they handled rolling up Iranian air defenses, and that's the question for me now is, even if you hate the existence of Israel and your neighbor, you've got to know that none of you have invested in a true professional military. Their jobs programs, for the most part, in these other nations, whereas the IDF is a true corps of NCOs and officers and all the things, and all the things that allowed Ukraine to stand toe-to-toe with the most larger
and a deep, highly active reservist bench that is also, while being in uniform, the the class of entrepreneurs in their technology industry that is building their economy and supplying this the military industrial complex in Israel.
I do wonder about the overall utility of conscripts.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think the professional soldier class need class.
Whoa. You, as a citizen soldier who volunteered and served and then left and did another career, you're against the Marine Corps is all about, hey, we're good with taking a one-term kid and teaching them about service and discipline. So you're against conscript arms.
I don't know if I'm against, but I wonder about the utility of conscripts against professional class military soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
And like Ukraine and reservists are an interesting thing, right? Because that is a NCO corps that's sitting in your civilian population at that point. That's an interesting use of conscripts. But like cold conscripts, okay, how good is that force? I wonder, and I don't know that I have a right answer right now.
An argument for conscripts, or call it what you will, every nation's got their thing, is that it closes the civil-military divide so that policymakers and legislators.
I love mandatory public service.
That is a potential virtue of that, but I don't think that's what you're talking about. No, combat utility between the two.
Yeah, that's the piece I do wonder about.
I think strategically, the campaign the Israelis have run is the most brilliant campaign in, interesting. Maybe, I think we can put it up there.
Yeah,
like in historical terms.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have to say like the post World War II. I think this is going to go down. Like they have transformed the entire region. My question is, can they have tactical victory against Hamas in Gaza? And you guys did the heavy lifting in urban environments, trying to dig insurgents out of those towns and cities. And I think that was a huge, they are embarking on a potentially war-losing strategy by trying to control that. You know what they're going to do? They're going to get like surrogates like they did in Lebanon back in the day. And I'm telling you what, strategically brilliant campaign, they can lose it all by this whole idea that they're going to go in and hold terrain. I don't see it. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, do you remember the topic? I think this came up from in the 2000s, probably in Iraq. This idea of the strategic corporal, where a corporal, an E3.
That's Krulak. Our boy Krulak came out.
Our boy Krulak did this, and the idea was
him and his old man. They did our country right.
Absolutely, Marine generals, all. And so the idea was that an E3, E4, E5 could have a strategic impact. Operating within a very limited kind of realm of influence, because their actions would be perceived by the locals, who we were trying to win the hearts and minds of, right? Like that was a lot of the campaign in the 2000s and early teens, and that a corporal was making decisions that would have devastating diplomatic impact at that level, positive or negative.
This is true now more than ever, and it goes all the way back to Vietnam, in my opinion, right? The way wars are perceived now, the way they are documented, it is this hyper awareness of the conduct of everyone there in unrelenting detail and context. So every individual soldier, I think it's more than just the strategic corporal, it's the strategic everybody.
Yeah.
You never know when it comes to the phone.
Do you remember, I'll just go ahead and go there, white-haired old man now, joined the Army in 83, citizen soldier, got commissioned 87.
It's before you were born, son.
And
87 was the Bureau's point.
Great first tour, Korea, because I was like, frontier freedom, gotta get in the fight.
Yeah.
Commies and shit. It was great. I would call home once a week, collect, right? Here's what I'm in the line at Baghdad at the PX that was a Victory or something, one of those places.
Mm-hmm.
That freaking PX was bigger than the Walmart, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm in line because every Sunday I would get my ass chewed by the 3-star, and that's where I'd be at Victory. And I would go to the PX to get a Slurpee. The Slurpee was like, because we didn't have any booze or anything. You weren't supposed to. Of course, everybody did. But I was a leader. And I get my Slurpee from the slushy machine. I know I'm mixing like, are we going to get in trouble for branding? Like, are we going to get sued for copyright infringement?
No.
Oh, man. Like Slurpee, 7-Eleven.
Hear our intro song. I'm pretty sure we're preaching copyright.
Oh, jeez, man. You should have told me about any sort of copyright infringement opportunities.
Nope.
And this kid gets on his phone in the line, the checkout line, and he calls home and he's talking to his girlfriend.
That's so loud.
And I was like, holy shit.
What year do you think that was?
What year was that?
That was 06 or 07.
Yeah.
And that was like a wake-up call for me. I know it sounds cliche, but like these handheld computers that we have, it's fundamentally transformed, which ties into your point, the strategic corporate shit. It's like, it's just out there. So, I mean, I know we're just going organic here.
Well, to take it all the way back to your point, Chris, it's that Israel might be defining the pinnacle of tactical operations in military application of force. They could be running the most brilliant street-to-street battle. They could be killing bad guys at the best civilian to bad guy ratio ever in the history of forever. And they might still lose the strategic war because of the information operations campaign. Is that what you're talking about?
That is what I was trying to get to. I will say something very controversial, which will end up, getting me like, we'll bleed the whole thing. But here's the thing. The Israeli army, and you brought up the conscript situation as well as the reserve forces, absolutely best in class.
Absolutely.
That's not what they do not have the ass to hold on to that place. That's what I'm getting at. The science of war. And you can say, oh, technology has changed all this and whatnot. They do not have enough manpower to lock that place down and control that.
So now you sit down, you're speaking my language. Because raids don't hold territory. And at the end of the day, no matter what any of our services, and we talk about this a lot in this like defense tech space of what we want to build for it, how we're going to deter, what the strategy is. It all boils down to, can you put your land army there and can you hold the thing? Anything less than that, you're not doing real war. You're doing, a low intensity conflict. You're in gray zone. Those are all legitimate things. But if you want to talk about a true, like world-class army built for war, the army has to move, and then it has to fight. And I agree. I look at the devastation in Gaza, which I think no matter how you feel about where the conflict goes, you look at that city, it's flat. It's a flat city. Are you going to move in and live there? Because I don't think you have the resources. I don't think you have the people. It's a hard thing to hold, even when it's right next door. This is the hardest part of this business. And I think about it when we talk about China all the time, where they're like, oh, well, China's doing X or Y, Z thing to replace America. I'm like, no, they're not. Because China is not practicing moving their army en masse to far away lands. Garrett, you were just out there. What do you got?
Yeah, Taiwan. I mean, I've lived on both sides of the Taiwan Strait. I spent 2 years in Taiwan. I lived for a year or maybe a little bit more in Beijing and Shanghai. I've seen both sides of the strait. I wouldn't want to run that amphibious operation across the strait. I wouldn't want to do that. But
no way.
But I was gratified in the last 2 weeks. I was in Taiwan 2 weeks ago speaking at TADT, their big defense conference. There is a new feeling there amongst the Taiwanese about the imperative to invest in themselves. I think historically, the last 20 years, they've always had this kind of like, oh, America, the big brother, is going to come to the rescue. They're going to present the deterrent force, and think whatever you want about President Trump and his attitude and his proclamations and his whatever, his thing. But he has expressed doubt into the NATO context that the U.S. is going to, adhere to, NATO principles and intervene in the case of an Article 5 declaration. He has expressed doubt, or maybe just implied doubt, about intervening in other places. And the message is very clear to the Taiwanese. America, let's say that we thinking as a Taiwanese person or a Taiwanese policymaker, if I thought last year that the likelihood that America would intervene on our behalf if the PLA Navy, presents a blockade, or the PLA Army invades across, in an amphibious assault, the Taiwanese attitude was maybe like 90% likely that the U.S. intervenes or that the West intervenes. I think that President Trump is messaging, again, call it smart, call it dumb, call it whatever you will. I think it has reduced their optimism that America comes to the rescue or that the West comes to the rescue, such that they are now more inspired to invest in their own deterrent capability. And they have bought in organically to that whole porcupine strategy, poison frog strategy. They're coming around to it, and I think that's a good thing. And they are saying the same things that we are. The Chinese are kind of saying the same thing too. It's 2027. Like we're 18 months away, 24 months away from what could be a pretty world-changing, intervention.
You've got the longitudinal. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, maybe.
You've watched it for a while, so you're just not like I just showed up and I read, some stupid book that was boring as shit.
Yeah, 23 years.
I'm not giving you the name of the book. Person might be in charge, very high up in the Pentagon.
Sure.
I never got through that book. Did you get through that?
That was terrible.
Man, I tried. I didn't buy it then. I don't buy it now. Man, I tried. I was like, I got to read this book.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, it's really great. I'll get back to it. I'm gonna still get back to it, maybe. But you've got more perspective. So you saw like fundamental shift in kind of calculus.
So here's another shift. I referenced this a couple of weeks ago on this podcast, but when I was there most recently, I was asking everybody that I could talk to, what do you think the attitude is toward independence from China for the Taiwanese people? And I got lots of different answers, and the conclusion that I reached, again, this is not sophisticated polling or anything, but it was that there's something like 15-20% of the population is like very pro-independence. Wouldn't mind if President William Lai declared independence tomorrow. Wouldn't mind that, and might even fight for it. There's something like 80% or so that are very aligned with independence in concept, but kind of just love the status quo and hope that nothing happens. Like, let's just not rock the boat. Hopefully China never invades. Let's stay ourselves. Wait for Xi to die. But let's maintain the status quo. And something very small, I'm talking like on the order of 1%, are actually like, maybe it would be better if we were with China. And I'll say 23 years ago when I was living in Taiwan, that attitude was very different. Very different. I think a lot more of the population was open to the idea of China becoming something like a sovereign over Taiwan. And that has shifted. And I think it's shifted because the Taiwanese have now, for 27 years, watched what happened to Hong Kong. When Hong Kong was promised, self-governance, one state, two systems, or whatever the saying was. They were promised that, and it didn't happen. And the Taiwanese are smart, entrepreneurial, freedom-loving people. They see this, and they don't want anything to do with it.
Don't you think our listeners want a hot take from Simon? Isn't that what they're waiting for? Sure. They're like, these two guys.
I'm ready to deliver. I'm so ready because I'm listening, and Garrett's very smart, and I love listening to him talk about this topic. I spent a much briefer amount of time on mainland China, studied in Shanghai.
Great city, great food,
Incredible.
Xiaolongbao,
Great culture. I learned almost no Mandarin. Lots of people in Shanghai speak English. It's great. It's really, all the signs are in English. Every road sign's in English. The whole subway's in English.
You walk down the Bund.
Easiest place.
You walk down the Bund. It's a beautiful walk right on the river. It's beautiful.
I think no one ever fights. I think there's no fight ever.
Yeah.
Over Taiwan. No physical confrontation ever happens, in my opinion.
I think I agree with everything you're about to say.
And there's my two reasons, and you brought up the point, which is both interesting, but I think really narrow. This longitudinal look. You know who has a longitudinal look? China. Right? They're looking across such a
I feel like a moron.
You're right. You've been thinking about it for 20 years, and I'm like, just another 980 to go.
Sorry,
and you're set up.
Wasn't it the Deng Xiaoping? I pronounce it.
Yeah.
Little bottle.
Yeah.
Who?
Too soon to tell.
Yeah, right. I freaking.
But here's the
love
thing. This is a perfect example of where I want to go with this, because the popular reinterpretation of that was that Kissinger just didn't know what he was talking about. Kissinger thought he thought Kissinger was referencing a much more recent event.
That's true.
Than the one. So simultaneously ascribed to them this mystic long wisdom, just lost in translation of oh, I thought you were talking about the thing 2 decades ago.
Right.
So it's a little bit of both. And I think one of the problems we have in America in particular when we think about China is we want to apply our logic and our rationale to how they handle geopolitical problems. And I think it's really dangerous. And I think what makes the most sense to me, and if I'm looking at China as a rational actor, and they are a much more rational actor than we are, because they don't rubber band politically across their strategic decision making. They have a very consistent and gradual change in their strategic policies, but they don't go Republican, Democrat. I'm going to reset. Every 4 years is a reset. That doesn't happen in China. And if I'm Chinese, if I am a well-educated Chinese geopolitical, I'm looking at Taiwan going, why would I burn 30,000, 40,000 Chinese lives to the ground on the hardest amphibious landing that exists in the world? When I can squeeze you.
But that's my point. Why would they ever go kinetic when they can just
because that's what
use a regular warfare?
Because we go kinetic, and that's how we look at the thing. And every time I hear someone talk, like, you just applied the American strategy to a very Chinese problem, which is, I'll wait. I am taking over all the lines of communication. I am taking over all this water. Your ability to get food is going to be dependent entirely on me in about 100 years. And I'm going to be here in 100 years, just like I was for the last several thousand.
So the China problem for sure is driving the big thinking in geopolitics around the world. But
so we're going to pivot. This is good.
I'm pivoting.
Do you see? He's doing the setup. Yeah. This is awesome.
I'm here to throw stones. He's going to keep down. Do the trail on the rail
setup. I'm doing the setup. So that's the big geopolitical thought driver, right?
Yeah.
In the world. But if China's going to do it slow and do it subtle, do it deliberate and all that stuff, why is Russia choosing to, go hard in the paint?
Here's the key,
like a full-on invasion.
Hold on. I want to jump in right there because it ties to very specifically something you said. Until she dies. When she dies, the Chinese political thought remains. It will be a slight difference, but it will be a continuation of the party's rule. When Putin dies, it's fair game. Whoever gets over the reins next
is Shark Tank.
It's put his stamp on it. It could be a radical departure. So Russia is in a constant existential.
I don't think it would be a radical departure. I disagree with that, but let's go.
Look at what happened with Gorbachev. What do you mean? It could very easily be a radical departure.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're saying radical departure in Russia?
Yeah, in Russia.
So I think a change of power to China actually going.
And that's the huge difference. When she dies, I don't think there's any real big change in China. But in Russia, Putin is like every day, knives out for everyone around him, consolidating.
I'm going to frequency.
Wow, where former secretaries of defense actually get thrown out windows. Did you know that?
Right. And let's talk Russia.
Yeah.
So Yeltsin, I hate to admit this. Told you I went to Korea. Then I go to the old guard, the ceremonial unit in Washington, D.C. that does Arlington and all that stuff.
Sure. The Marines have their own thing, 8th and 9th.
Yes.
Where all the almost infantry Marines go.
Right. So I end up there, which is beyond humiliating, but I wanted to get married, and it all worked out. So whatever. You don't care about that. I'm at the Pentagon.
Right.
And I'm running a joint service cordon, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
We're lined up, going up into the Pentagon for Yeltsin. So Yeltsin comes, he goes in for lunch with the Secretary of Defense. I can't remember who it was, 80-something.
Wait, what year is this?
80-something?
80-something? Late 80s?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to think about that.
I'm one.
Yeah,
sorry, I broke crazy.
I broke your flow. Which is kind of great, right? I don't even remember who the Secretary of Defense was. That's how important these people are.
Sure, could.
It rotates, it changes.
Right. I'm looking it up because
real quick.
I was about to say,
look that up. So real quick,
right?
We have to line up for his departure, and it's he's going to leave at 1:00. We line up, and we stand there for an hour and 30 minutes. My knee is still screwed up because you know how you're not supposed to lock your knees because you'll fall over? It got so bad, I just said, I'm going to lock my knees because
taking a dive.
And I find out later, check this out, Yeltsin got drunk in there and couldn't get out. I read it in something later. So I have a real problem with Russia. I still call it the Soviet Union because my knee But yeah, like I probably got 5% disability. So I just want to thank the American public for, but I still have some heartache. I'm physically disabled because of, I'm probably one of the only American soldiers that got disability due to the Russian regime.
That's very funny.
The Russians wish they could say something similar, but there's several hundred Wagner that are no longer with us due to their time in Syria, and it's not the fault of ISIS. It is the fault of some fine special forces soldiers and their ability to work the radio.
It's funny that doggone story hasn't been told. It has been a little bit, but the courage of those commanders on the ground is incredible. That did those things without higher command approval. They were waiting, and they're like, I got to do this.
They had the authority, and they had the requirement. And they did what they had to do. And I love those citations for those Silver Stars came out just a couple years ago. It still is very light on details, but if you know how to read it, you read that thing, and you're like, these guys were alone and unafraid, calling in heavies.
So why is Putin continuing this war?
It's his war. Putin has been, since 2006, if not earlier, invading countries. This has been his go-to playbook, and he has suffered almost no consequences for it. In the entirety of his, once he has started it, it's the same playbook. You invade, everyone gets kind of mad, they've rattled their sabers, you've already gotten your land, you consolidate, you take a break, you wait 4 years, then you do it again. And I don't think anyone's under any illusion that follows it closely. As soon as we give him some breathing space on the Ukraine thing, he's going to go to Moldova. He's got the next targets lined up. There's no question about it. And for whatever reason, Putin clearly has this expansionist desire to reassemble as much of that union as he can, whereas China has like an entirely opposite approach of, that's already mine. I will grow to encompass it because it was always that way. That is the view of the name of China in Mandarin means center. Yeah, like the whole thought process is this will sort itself out. Whereas Putin is fighting for his supper every day. I have to keep fighting. I have to keep expanding. I need to keep everyone scared.
It does seem like mafia tactics.
Yeah.
Like organized crime.
Hey, so I remember
Wait, hold on before you jump in there. Frank Carlucci? I don't even remember the secretary.
Yeah,
Or Casper Weinberger, who was the bulk of Reagan's.
it was Carlucci.
Or Taft, who was very brief after.
No, he was brief. I remember
He was an acting secretary of defense, very brief.
Yeah, I was too.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. And that'll be good.
You know what?
I'll be like,
I bet you were more effective than William Howard Taft IV.
Some kid from the old guard is going to be like, yeah, I was waiting. Like who did we have in there? He'll be complaining too about, and it was COVID, so nobody got drunk and had lunch. If only. I think you'd get a lot more work done if people would do that.
worth a try, reveal technology. I'll soft pitch it to my boss, see what he says.
Yeah. Me or to
So, you brought up like the cultural, historic.
Oh, we were talking about man. Organized crime is like kind of a template for how to.
What did you do to prepare to go to Iraq? I told everybody in Afghanistan, I'd be like, just watch The Godfather and watch The Sopranos, and you know everything you need.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, let's learn culture. I was like, yeah, just watch The Sopranos.
Yeah.
And you're good. Did you ever have that feeling when you were
100%. I didn't. To be clear, I didn't do Iraq. Simon did, but in Afghanistan, these tribal leaders out in the middle of nowhere, it was charismatic, family-centric, tribal organized crime. That's what it was. It was brutal.
You know what I'm trying to do?
It was very.
I'm trying to bring it back to your point about like the American strategic. I'm not going to say schizophrenia, like about how we don't understand truly because we're going to create this mental model that suits us.
Yeah.
And that's why I was.
Don't get me wrong.
No, you're not. I was actually trying. I was trying to like thread this shit
believer in American exceptionalism, but you got to remember that it affects the way you think about everything. And we do this all the time. We did it with the Russians again. We talk about them like they're 20 feet tall and they're bulletproof. And then for like the third historical time, we watched them crumple in live combat. And we're like, oh, I guess all the resources we invested in being able to roll up your air defenses are, okay, yeah, we did it.
Like any lieutenant in the Marine Corps could have organized a better logistical movement than the invasion of Ukraine by the Russians to keep like a 40-mile log jam, traffic jam on the highway.
So there's a competence problem of I've worked really hard to be competent, so I therefore assume that everyone, and lives are at stake. You want to do that, you don't want to come in half-baked. But boy, we have a real tendency to apply to see ourselves and our adversary, and then for some reason plan around that when we should be planning around most likely disaster.
Can I make one comment?
Sure.
And then
You can make as many comments as you want. I got out as a
one comment. What kind of moronical regime competitor would decide to fight conventionally against us? Like, we love to target shit. Our entire military is designed to slaughter tanks, people, do not mass. So this is what fascinates me with this whole thing. Like, Russia, China, like, why would you ever fight in the way that we are going to absolutely annihilate you?
This is why I think Russia keeps going right now. This is why I think Russia keeps going right now, because it's obvious the United States is disinclined toward intervention.
Right.
And because the U.S. is disinclined, NATO is disinclined, and Russia is feeling that perimeter out. This is why the air incursions into Estonia, into Poland, and probably elsewhere that we don't know about, they're going to keep pushing the issue unless and until they feel...
Romania.
Exactly. That's exactly right. But unless and until they feel true pushback from true military hard power from NATO and the United States.
That's the only way I see the Putin expansion stop, is not even a single country, because I think Poland, probably by themselves, could really dog walk the Russian military if they tried to test it, right?
If they want.
But that being said, do you want to hit them so hard that they don't do it again? That requires NATO. It really does. It requires NATO coming together and going,
The Poles, I've been over there like way too much. They don't listen to me. Like, stop buying freaking M1 tanks and all this crap. I know, like, I don't understand this idea that they want to create an American army. They need to fight the Polish way, which frankly is absolutely effective. It's unfortunate, like in 1939 when, like 115 divisions. I mean, it's going to be a problem. Like, but so that's kind of my concern. So I was going to pivot just a bit. What do you think warfare has fundamentally changed? We always, for us, nature of war never changes. Fear,
right?
All that stuff.
Right.
Friction, all that.
Sure.
But the character of war, do you think this is? Do you think what's happening there is legit? And do you think our military is transforming fast?
Two quick things here. The character war has not changed even a little bit. It will continue to be troops taking and holding land. That is the real war. Everything else is a tool. It's still troops holding land. There's no amount of drones that take your city. You have to send young men and women into the city to occupy the city. They fly the drones. They build the drones. They learn how to use the drones. It is still a human-centric activity. I haven't seen anything that's made me think that.
Fehrenbach, this kind of war.
Right.
My generation, we had to read that book about the American legions until an American fighting person is on that piece of terrain.
Yeah.
You cannot be victorious.
Now, to the thing you're talking about, I actually think that the equipment that a country buys has a lot more to do with the signal you're trying to send than it has to do with how you want to fight.
I was going to say the same thing. A lot of times I see like M1 tank purchases or Patriot missile purchases or whatever as a diplomatic signal between two countries that, Poland buys X piece of American military hardware to signal to the United States that we are with you or we need you with us or something. It's less about the hard military technological application or piece of equipment and more about the signal of it.
And we did the same thing in the Cold War. We bought a whole ton of stuff and built a whole ton of stuff to elicit responses out of the Soviets. to make them buy and think about things that we wanted them to.
Right. Oh, that was our strategy of bankruptcy.
Don't you think the latest iteration of that is? I think okay. Now we need to buy a bunch of drones, and then the counter escalation is we need to buy and figure out the counter drone thing.
I actually think China's doing it to us much more aggressively. When we look at China's built an aircraft carrier where they use American handed arm signals, and they really haven't sent the aircraft carrier anywhere. But we freaked out and we bought tons of new things.
But I bet the Chinese. All right, there was the gentleman died recently. John Wagelstein was his name. He was the 7th Special Forces Group commander during the war in El Salvador, and he created really the modern day idea of irregular warfare, surrogate forces. And he taught, his final job was teaching at the Naval War College. They would talk about strategy, and he brought up, and this is the problem, I can't remember the damn thing. There's this strategy called like bankrupt your enemy.
Yeah.
And there's like some cool Roman name for it. I get online.
Call it the race to the bottom.
I'm literally, I get online, like trying to learn this stuff. And Colonel Wagelstein died recently, and he was just such, like he spent like all these years teaching us about strategy. Your point though, like we use that strategy to defeat the Soviet Union. I am so worried the Chinese are doing the exact same thing to us.
Why
by going, hey,
they can just keep buying things and watching us chase our tail.
Like, oh, we've got this new hypersonic missile that does figure eights that is beyond the credibility, capability. And I'm like, oh, damn. Star Wars was a deception operation.
Yes.
And it worked. Everybody's like, Reagan's insane. Like Star Wars, they mocked him, and we banked. The Soviet Union was like, holy shit,
right?
What are we gonna do?
Right?
We bankrupted them.
Here's an element of this is a very Chinese thing, and demonstrates the power of an asymmetric economic, almost like product level piece of I'm going to call it diplomacy. I don't really know, the soft power application. So everybody's freaked out about drones nowadays. China presents the major kind of like technological leap in the drone industry, call it, small drones in particular, over the last 10, 15 years, with a large company called DJI, and there are a few others, right? So not only did they freak the world out with a technological leap and drown out everybody else in the market with small drones for consumers, prosumers, even like commercial professionals, whatever, but they made us pay for it. Like, we paid for it. We bought those products. We read about those products, which then allowed the Chinese to present this crazy asymmetric advantage in a change in the technology landscape for warfare. And now the United States can't produce a drone for less than what, like $10,000?
Yeah. Let's bring it back though to this.
But we paid for the privilege of the asymmetric loss of advantage.
That's what I'm saying.
It's crazy.
I love it.
But we can. Well,
they're very good.
Say that. That'll get mischaracterized, but it's brilliant.
You'll only get half canceled for that.
I want to take it back to this character of war conversation specifically though, because as we talk about these like technological advantages, first of all, it's air dominance. We've been talking about air dominance for a long time. It's air dominance. It's strikes coming in from the air. It's defending your airspace. That's what drones are. It's not a completely new way of thinking of the world, but it is you have to rethink air dominance. You have to think about air dominance again in a way that you didn't have to think about it before, because we established such a clear. But that being said, and I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, Wall Street Journal ran an article about the all-drone offensive. And I thought, what a crock of shit. Because they were like, oh, and it was only drones, and these ground drones, and there was air drones, and there was boats, and they went and they did forth the thing. And I remember, like, you're leaving out the part, who did they attack? Humans. And when the other side sent their drones, who did they attack? Humans. It is a tool that you use to kill people to then go take territory.
Yeah.
It will not change.
Yeah, conflict has not changed in that way.
But there was another. I think Wall Street Journal does a really good job. Their reporting crew.
Sure. Not in the Wall Street Journal.
It's just striking the hype cycles. And the one article I really appreciated was when they described their naval, uncrewed systems. Mm-hmm. And what they talked about was deconstructing. They have deconstructing an amphibious task force or a naval task force with drones each optimized instead of having a frigate or a destroyer. And I was like, oh, that's powerful.
I think drones are much more disruptive to naval operations than they are to land.
What I'm trying to get at is like somebody's figuring out how to create poor man's Air Force with, you know, discrete capabilities.
Yep.
And I don't think it's been done yet because let's be honest, a Group 1 small ass DJI drone, come on. I mean, it sucks if it's chasing you to blow your ass up. We all get that part.
Yeah.
But is that going to be a strategic game changer? But when the thought of you can create an Air Force with air superiority, here's my thing. I don't see it getting beyond, you know, there's a certain range fan, and they're seeing it in Ukraine, right?
Yep.
Where, you know, we used to call it FLOT, but now it's the engagement zone, or they have different terminology for it. But that, like, I haven't been out there. I really hope to soon. Because what are they saying? You got like a 40-mile, like, no man's land.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
So I'm trying to, but your point is air superiority or air dominance, whatever terminology what is still a key thing. And back to the Iranians. Holy crap. Like,
It just got rolled up and the rest crumbled.
they got smoked.
Yeah.
But the use of drones,
Look at how they rolled them up, though. This is an important piece, right? Because one of the things that was very well reported is it was Israelis and Israeli proxies right there on the ground using either conventional warfare, cover concealment, being like all of that.
still a human being.
The trade craft was and same thing with Ukraine spiderweb. The trade craft is what turned it into a true, and that was all traditional. Yeah,
We're done. Drop the mic.
Go walk through the woods, don't get caught, dig a trench, wait for him to walk past you.
Yeah,
It's
like
the same thing. It's tale as old as time. Whether I get you with an M16 or a drone, I used traditional infantry tactics to set myself up in a position to hit you with an L-shaped ambush that wiped you out.
Isn't this just an escalation or an increase in the level of automation in the same way that, like, once upon a time, the Gutenberg press was an increase in the automation of the written word? And, you know, the internet was an increase in the automation of the distribution of the word. And Microsoft Excel is an increase in the automation of doing math.
I disagree on that. The internet is an alien creature that's watching us and learning from us. There's a great David Bowie interview where someone's like, "What, isn't it just a communication tool?" And his exact response is, "No, it's an alien thing. It's." And I agree completely. There was a certain point in the internet where it went from like, "Oh, we're putting things on," and now the internet affects the way we sleep, the way we think.
Totally.
So that's my one disagreement.
Well, and
the internet morphed into some horrible thing that we never could have imagined, and now it's
now it's quote AI, right? And AI truly is an alien,
an actual. And we're getting closer and closer to
the extent.
Now I'm getting scared. But infantrymen.
Well, so I think the summary, Chris almost got us into maybe the end of show here, but like I think that the sum here is that no matter how automated, no matter how roboticized military operations, technology, whatever become, it's still about humans moving into contested terrain, occupying contested terrain, defending contested terrain, pressuring the adversary's held terrain, all of that. So that's a huge.
This is your guys' show. But you triggered me on this one, so I go to these tech things and like all these like investors and say tragically, and they're all like, and they're trying to tell me technology has changed everything, and I become the old person, and I'm like, no, this warfare is the most basic human activity ever. And we will never, and that, I know, Simon, that's your point too.
So right now, think about it. The Kashmir border, Chinese and Indian troops are carrying swords and sticks and beating each other to defend their territory. And in the South China Sea, the Filipinos have swords on their fishing boats, and they're waiting for the Chinese Coast Guard to run them through. You have all the best technology in the world, but you can't crush the human spirit. I'm going to find a way to hold what's mine, or I'm going to die trying.
Man, that was my first job. You brought up Kashmir. My first job in Special Forces, we had high altitude alpine mission. So I was like, oh my gosh, I need to learn about Arctic warfare and shit. So, what do? We're all dorks. Just read a lot, talk to people. And man, I start studying that. They had that war one of the lines of contention in Kashmir, which is like in way like 20,000, not 20,000. Way up.
It's up in mountain.
And man, those dudes, they're like, none of your rifles work. Everything freezes. They got swords and shit.
Same thing with your drones. They don't work in the cold. Your batteries stop working.
All right, hey, can I? All right, let's go there really quickly.
Yeah, let's hit it.
Have you listened to the new Taylor Swift album?
Somehow it didn't hit my radar.
It's not on your feet?
So total respect if you're into T Swift.
No, I'm not. I
Just never hit with me.
never, me neither.
Oh no, there's one record that I like.
Which one?
It was, I feel like in my mind it's her first big one because it's the words too. They came out when I got out of the Marine Corps and I was like, man, this one's good.
This is a good.
Fearless, maybe? Here's what I
Ian, you'll probably know.
here's what I
Ian, what do we got?
Sing it for us.
here's what I don't understand. Dude, how does the Beyonce win awards for best country music album? That bothers me because
So you're wrong, but it's okay.
I mean, I've actually heard some of the music. It's pretty good, but like, that's a hard pivot from, honestly, I don't know, is that R&B, hip hop, whatever she was into before, and like that's a hard pivot. And then
Did she put a ring on it?
Yes, yes,
Oh yeah, all right. Oh, that one holds up.
it does.
Right.
She's a great artist, but like all of a sudden, like the entire country music scene, like
So I did not listen to the album, but I put some.
it's
reps
pretty
in.
good. I mean, honestly, it's pretty good.
I have a lot of strong thoughts, particularly on the country music scene. But
She is from Texas, though. I'll give her that.
she's from the number one selling country music artist in the world right now is Morgan Wallen.
Yeah,
Go listen to his records. The majority of it is trap beats with country singing on top.
it's true.
I don't know how they get away with that.
Country bands have done this to themselves, and there's a lot of country artists like Turnpike and Sturgill.
The nature of music has not changed, but the character of music is drop. I think that might be it.
I think that's it.
Chris, thank you for joining us. It was a good chat. It was a good ramble. We'll have to do it again. We hit like maybe every geopolitical topic there was.
And the country R&B.
Hey, can I be the old guy now?
Yeah, hit it.
I might get a little weepy.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for what you guys are doing. This shit's really super important. Thanks for taking it on. I have a motto: no one's coming to help. It's up to us. I used to use that with the guys I worked with, and it can be such a negative thing, but it's really not. It's a positive thing. So thanks for being like forces of good and forces of change. And man, this shit's too important. We can't give up just because the bureaucracy and the haters and all that. And I super enjoyed, hanging out with you guys. And thanks. Sure, our 3 listeners will be at 2.
We'll get into the teens.
No,
with this one.
Yeah, we will get into the teens. We're going to hit the teens for sure. If we get into the teens, I'm going to change. I don't do LinkedIn because I don't want people bothering me.
Yes.
I got enough people bothering me. I'll get on LinkedIn.
You don't
If we get to 25,
We hit 25. We'll make sure it's a
and I'm gonna like my lead thing is gonna be single-handedly increased by
250% increase in listenership.
Yeah. So
Wait, do we owe you money? Hold on. Do we owe you money for that? Because
You just like, so I'm like, this is how we finally get on Rippett's radar. For that, we will always be grateful.
that's true. That's true. Chris, I guess it's that Rip It sponsorship. I'm gonna send you a whole crate, hot and dusty, just the way you like.
I told my kids about Rippets. They're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, look it up. But it's like almost, in some ways, it's almost a legacy brand. It's like
You gotta find a
Snowball,
bad,
or,
you gotta find a bad gas station near a raceway, and they'll have Rip
Or military base.
or military base.
I'm gonna get when we end. Don't blink because I'm gonna go find a Rippet.
Good deal.
See.
All right. Thanks, Chris. That's good, man. That's really good.